Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, TV land. This is Webeam TV, and welcome to Taboo Talk with Ray and Steve. I'm Ray Amanat with Heroes in Action and Taboo Talk, right here in Port Richey at the Webeam Studios. And my co-host, Mr. Steve Reed, is, as always, somewhere hiding in an undisclosed safe house. I think he's trying to take after President Biden in a bunker. From Texas, Steve Reed, welcome to the show. Hello?
Dude,
Hello?
I used to call you friend, but to even mention me in the same sentence, I am deeply offended. I am. Did I hear you right? Are you communicating with me the right way?
I am trying to communicate the best as I can, Mr. Reed, in the bunker. I hope I don't offend you. But before we get things started, we got to let our Taboo Talkers, our viewers, know some of the sponsors that we've got. Our first sponsor, of course, is Heroes in Action, which is a foundation that I started over 17 years ago. We have our headquarters based out of Port Richey, Florida, right out here, where we do lectures, seminars, hands-on presentations on how not to be a victim of any form of bullying or violence. For more information, you can go to our website at heroesinaction.us, and you can also call me 314-570-0243 to get more information on how to set up a speaking engagement, a lecture, a seminar, or private lesson instructions. So today's topic, Mr. Reed, I kind of want to call you Mr. Anderson from all the Matrix movies. Mr. Anderson. Okay, so because we're communicating, right? Today's topic is going to be on how to be a better communicator with your family, your friends, your coworkers. Do you guys express yourselves in the same manner, or do you communicate differently with each one of those groups? My co-host, Mr. Steve Reed here, who is a life and marriage coach, as well as a certified Zig Ziglar speaker and trainer, will help us answer all of these questions and more. So, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Steve, Mr. Reed, what do you see as the biggest challenges in relationships today when it comes to communication?
What did you say? I'm sorry. No. I'm listening.
Exactly.
I'm listening.
What?
Ray, I make light of that, but when you stop and think about it, the communication is both talking and listening. And when I say talking, it's not just the words that we say, but it's also our body language, our inflections, how loud we speak, how softly we speak. Are we hesitating, pausing a lot? Those kinds of things. I actually taught communication skills, speaking skills for about 25 years through the Toastmasters organization. I got to one of the high ranks within the organization. I was very involved there for over 25 years. But communication isn't just about the words that we say or our body language. It is oftentimes about the actual listening skills that we display as well. And probably the number one issue when it comes to listening skills is that people are so distracted these days by other things, whether it's the dog barking, the kids running through the house, the cell phones, the TV, the internet, the whatever. I don't care what it is. We are distracted so easily by so many different things So when a husband and wife are sitting down, or a parent and a child, or coworkers, or a boss and a subordinate are trying to communicate, are they completely, totally together on the same page at the same time? And that is one of the first things, especially when I'm working with couples, but when I'm working with business groups as well. I always start with, are you on the same page? Are you truly being attentive to what the other person is saying or asking of you? So, Rob, if you could, I think I sent you a slide that has the 7 listening skills. Do we have that where I can show that?
Yeah, 1 second.
I guess not.
Yeah, it's coming
Oh,
up.
is it?
While
Okay.
he's booting it up, sorry, I was distracted on
Whatever.
on my cell phone. So while we're waiting on Rob to pop that up, talking about distractions, everything that's happening, just me having conversations with my family about the political scene, about the abortion scene, about everything that's going on in our country, and it's actually dividing families because you have some that are leaning more left, some that are leaning more right. How do you deal with that?
Well, there's another position too, right? It's those people that are just plain stupid. That's another thing that we have to contend with. It goes back to listening. Is sometimes, and whatever your political bent is, or your religious beliefs, or business beliefs, whatever the case is, if you're not truly listening to the other person, then how can you possibly have an adult conversation with them? So you and I could be talking about something, and you're trying to make a point, but I'm paying attention to the way I think about something. And as a result of that, I'm not truly hearing what you're saying. Maybe I am distracted by my cell phone. Maybe I'm distracted by something that I saw on the news. Maybe I'm distracted by an email or a text message that I recently got. And so as a result, we have to stop and truly listen to what the other person is saying, and what their intention is, or what their meaning behind that particular conversation. So, Rob, do we have that slide yet?
Yeah, we've got it. We'll pop it up right now. Here you
Excellent.
go.
Okay. So one of the things that I do, whether it's in a corporate environment or I'm talking with a couple, I always go through this chart, this graphic, and go through the 7 keys to active listening. And the first one, again, is be attentive to what the other person is saying. Another one is ask open-ended questions. So, Ray, if you and I are getting together, let's say we're getting together for coffee, and I say, hey, Ray, how's it going? And your response was, it's going okay. That is a closed question. But if I say, Ray, tell me what's going on with your business, that's an open type of a question. So you're going to be able to fill in more detail on what's going on. I'm going to give you a case in point. I just got a referral from a husband and wife, and they're going through some marriage struggles right now. And unfortunately, we're meeting together tonight for the first time. But in the email conversations, she said something about her husband is losing, or I misunderstood. He is selling his business, and it sounded like things are causing a problem, or there is a problem in losing that business. Well, as it turns out, he's selling the business to his children. Now, because I didn't have enough information, I should have asked more questions in the process. The implication was business is struggling. He's selling the business because the business is struggling. It's not it at all. So that's a case of me not asking enough proper questions in the process of doing the interview. Rob, let's show that slide one more time. So in addition to that, I'm going to ask probing questions, and I'm going to request clarification on different things. So actually, I'm going to run through 3 different things: the probing questions, ask for clarification, and then paraphrase. So when we look at those things, so Ray, if you and I are having that conversation again, and Ray, how are things going in your business? And you're starting to tell me, well, things aren't too bad. I could use more clients and so forth. Well, I may ask you some probing questions. So, in other words, Ray, if we could help you get some more clients, then business would be doing better. So I'm going to probe. Well, what kinds of things are you doing right now to attract additional clients for your business, whether it's for your seminars or for your schools? What are the kinds of things that you're doing? So I'm asking you probing questions. Basically, what I'm saying, Ray, is I'm just listening to you and engaging with you. Now, your responsibility is to tell me and respond to those probing questions. And I may ask you, okay, so when you say you need more clients, tell me what you're looking for. Are you looking for more students, or are you looking for more schools that you can work with? Are you looking for more adults? Are you looking for more children? Are you looking for more nonprofit or charitable organizations you can work with? So tell me, give me a little bit more information. So I'm actually engaging with you, trying to find out more of what's important to you so I can better help you in the process of this thing. And then paraphrase, if you said, well, Steve, I'm just trying to get X. Okay. Ray, let me make sure that I understand so we're on the same page. What I'm hearing you saying is you need both more students, and you're looking for those students that are 10 to 14 years old. You love working with the younger kids, but you're also looking for more women that you can help in the self-defense mode and teach them some of the integral things to keep them protected, to keep them safe, so they are not walking around in fear. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, so I've asked for clarification. I've been probing more. I'm asking paraphrased questions. So if I'm doing that really says that I am being sensitive to you and the things that you are saying. Now, here's the problem. Too many times we don't have a lot of time. We're so busy because we've got to answer that last text message.
Right.
No, the last text message is, who are you going to have on your secret Santa list this year, or who are you going to pick for your mystery football team, or whatever? And it's irrelevant things. It's not really important things. So the key is be where you are, be attentive to the person or people with whom you're engaging. And when you do that, you're doing a couple of things. Number one is you're actually listening to what they're saying, but more importantly, you're telling them that I'm interested in you. I want to show you value in the things that are important to you.
Now, if we go back, because you've covered about 5 of those on the chart.
Keep up, right?
Paraphrase. I'm keeping up. Being attuned to and reflect the feelings you talked about, and then the summary is that's when you were saying, so what you're telling me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of being a sounding board for people so that you show that you are a good listener and you're helping them work through whatever they're going through, if it's a problem or if you're helping them critically think to problem solve their own issues.
Exactly. But the key really is, Ray, it's saying that I really care. Now, I'm not talking about, engaging with the clerk at the grocery store. And I'm not saying that I'm not, let me rephrase that. I'm not trying to minimize that, because you want to engage with everybody anytime you possibly can. A little side note, Suzanne, of course, is in real estate here in North Texas. And we were just having this conversation recently. I said, when you go to the grocery store, don't go to the self-checkout lines. Go to the regular lines. She says, well, why? I said, because you can't sell that automated machine in the self-checkout line. You can't sell them a house. They can't give you any referrals. But that clerk that's behind the counter, they may be able to give you some references. So it's all about the engagement with people. The paraphrasing aspect and the summarization aspect are really, they're kissing cousins. Paraphrasing is in the process. Summary when you're wrapping everything up. That's when you're summarizing things,
Sure.
whether it's with a spouse, children, or whether it's in a business meeting, that sort of thing.
In some of the research that I was doing to prep for this show, there's so many categories as far as our generational gap. I'm just going to kind of list some of these. We've got the Gen Z or the Centennials that are from the 1990s to the 2010s. We've got the millennials, blah, or Generation Y, which is my generation from 1980 to the 1990s. Generation X, which is your generation, I believe, from 1965 to 1979. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, right.
The baby boomers from 1946 to 1964. The traditional or silent generation, which I want to touch on that also, because I've had family members that, well, whenever we get to like family reunions, they just sit with their arms folded and they just sit and stare. They don't talk, they don't do anything, and that's that silent generation. And then finally, the GI generation from the 1900s to 1924. How do these generations communicate with their prospective generation gaps?
Ray, when you were growing up, did your family ever take driving vacations?
Yes, my dad would take us on like a 2-week vacation to the Grand Canyon or
Wherever,
like
yeah,
that, yes.
okay. When you were driving along, did you pull your iPad out and,
We didn't have
look at
those
things?
back then.
Oh, okay. All right. Then did your dad plug in a DVD for you to watch the
We
DVD
didn't
while you
have
were driving?
those.
Man, okay.
This was the, I Spy, or we played those type of games.
Exactly. Or the alphabet game. You're driving down the road, you see the road sign, okay, there's an A, that's for, aardvark, and there's a B, that's for battleship, and so you're doing those, you're engaging with everybody. Or there's a 3-hole Buick and you punch your brother in the arm every time you see a 3-hole Buick,
or slug bug, yeah.
or a bug, or whatever. So, but the point is, we were engaging with people all the time. It didn't make any difference. Back in our younger days, mine in particular, we didn't have a lot of toys. I mean, we had toys, but our favorite toy was a stick. Or we would makeshift a slingshot, and those kinds of things. And of course, our parents would say, "Put that thing away. You'll put somebody's eyes out." Those kinds of things. But today, what do kids do?
Oh,
They're on this thing.
their heads are stuck in an iPad or an iPhone, and
Exactly.
I was for New Year's at my brother's house, and I flew out to Arizona to see his family, and it was New Year's Eve, and I had taken a picture of this. All of his kids and all the other kids that were there for the celebration were sitting on a couch or sitting, back against the wall or whatever, staring at a video of somebody else playing a video game. And I'm like, I came out here to see you guys, and you guys are heads stuck in an iPad watching somebody else play a video game. Do you even play that video game? And they're like, no. They're just watching somebody play a video game. And I'm like,
Okay, so Ray, stop and think about that. How much communicating was going on? There were no communicating going on during that process.
Not at all. It was more frustration because
Yeah.
they were more interested in some guy, playing a video game than they were having our conversation or a relationship with me.
Exactly. So what does that do to us? That destroys our social skills. So we don't know how to communicate with other people. It's insane what we are doing to our children today and our adults.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm guilty. There are times when Suzanne and I go on a date, then the deal is, unless there's a crisis, we don't touch our phones during that date. The phone is on the table, turned face down. And it's for us to be able to communicate with each other. This morning, she went to a chamber meeting in the area. And when she got home, I had about a 15-minute break in between projects that I was working on. And so I just sat in the kitchen area while she's eating her breakfast. And we were communicating really crazy concepts. So we want to improve relationships. Well, communicate, listen, talk, listen so that you're actually listening to what the person is saying.
With that said, we talked earlier at the start of the show, the difference between talking to family, talking to your friends, like locker room talk or whatever else, and talking to your coworkers or business partners. What are the challenges there?
What are the challenges? Well,
so it's, here's an example. For me, I think one of the biggest issues that I have personally is I've been an educator or a teacher for over 40 years. I've been teaching martial arts or teaching personal safety, how to, worst case scenario, what to do and how to figure things out. So whenever I'm with family or with friends, if somebody asks me a question, that's how I communicate. I go into teaching mode, being a teacher, and I have, whether it's a girlfriend or a family member or whatever, it's like, Ray, I'm not your student. Stop teaching me. Talk to me like a person or whatever else. So how do people that, soldiers in the military, law enforcement, where they've been, or even doctors. I have a brother that's a doctor and he can't turn off being my dad was a psychiatrist. He couldn't turn off being a psychiatrist.
I understand totally. Ray, you gave a very real illustration. I had a client a while back, husband and wife that I was working with. He's ex-military and ex-law enforcement. Do you think he lived a regimented lifestyle?
Pretty much.
Yeah, he's ex-Marine, okay? Not just ex-military, ex-Marine, okay? Well, let me rephrase. Once Marine, always a Marine, but he was a retired Marine, I'll put it that way. Wow. Well, as we were talking, I could tell very definitely that he was still wearing that mantle of structure, law enforcement, military, everything has to be done a certain way. And she just wasn't living up to his expectations. And I said, dude, you got a problem. Well, what's that? I said, she's your wife. She's not one of your soldiers. Why don't you start treating her like your wife instead of one of the plebes in your platoon? I mean, just stop. So that is a very real thing that people deal with. I am guilty at times of trying to coach my wife. And there are times that she tells me, I just want you to listen to me. I said, okay, I will just listen. and so I have to be called in. So like you, I mean, I'm a coach. I've been coaching for 30 years. I'm a coach. It's hard to turn that off. I'll be in a group with people and I can see something where I can help somebody. Right. And I'm thinking, I need to say something. No, Steve, you need to shut up and listen to what they have to say and just, nod when appropriate. And if they ask for your insight, then they ask for your insight. And so we have to learn how to turn things off. So that is a critical thing, whether it's your personal relationships or in your business relationships. When I'm dealing with a group of people, on a business level, there will be times that I will ask them, would you mind if I gave you some insights from a coaching perspective? Now, if they're not a client, then that's the way I generally handle it.
So that's the same thing when I do my lectures. It's giving people a script of safety because most people don't know what to say when they're face to face with somebody with bad intentions.
Yeah.
Where you panic and freeze or you become aggressive. And to assert yourself or to be assertive, it's giving them that script or the language to diffuse or de-escalate a situation.
Sure.
But now flip that for what I was talking about earlier. I have to come up with a script that I guess, are you interested in input or constructive criticism or anything like
Exactly.
that? And if not,
Exactly.
then I should just sit back and listen.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you have to ask for permission. And when you ask for permission, generally, if the people are open-minded, they'll say, well, yeah, tell me, what are you talking about? Yeah, please help me. So when I'm sitting down with a male friend, we're just sitting there, we're having a cup of coffee or a glass of tea or whatever, and they're telling me some of the stuff that they're going through, whether it's in business or personal, family relationship things, whatever. I generally start by asking them up front, okay, I'm going to listen to you as a friend, okay? That's why I'm here. But if you want some input, I'm happy to share some ideas, some insights, some opinions, some experiences, happy to share them. But you have to ask for it because I'm not going to just automatically give it to you.
Right, right.
And when I do that, the people are like, oh my gosh, everybody's so willing to give their opinions when I just want them to listen to me. Sometimes we need to zip it until they're ready to receive it.
Right. No, that's great advice for me as well as I'm sure for our fellow Taboo Talkers or our viewers out there. Do you have any other examples or quick and easy answers for our viewers?
Well, the main thing is to start by listening, truly be attentive to what the person is saying. I think probably one of the things that I teach couples all the time is couples especially, more so than in a business relationship. But if couples are dealing with some communication challenges, one person says, I don't feel like I'm being heard, that sort of thing. Generally what I have them do is they get an egg timer of some sort, maybe one of the little hourglass, sand little hourglass type things, or put a timer on their phone. And the wife gets to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, then the husband gets to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, then the wife gets to speak, and then the husband gets to speak, going back and forth. And when you're speaking, you're not interrupting the other person. The other person has full control of the microphone, so to speak. And that way they're learning to truly listen. And I tell people all the time also, I want you to listen to hear what the other person is saying, not listen to respond to what the other person is saying. That is critical because when somebody is saying something and we're listening to them, we're formulating what we want to say in response to them. So here's one last little tip that I give to couples when there's a lot of antagonistic stuff that's going on. And I say, go to a dollar store or someplace very inexpensive and get one of those swimming noodles. You can readily get them right now. They're 4 or 5 feet long, whatever, they're foam rubber. And cut it into a small, maybe an 8 to 10 inch length. Whoever is holding that noodle, and I'm going to pretend for a minute that my pen is a noodle, okay? So whoever's holding the noodle gets to speak. When they're done speaking, they hand the noodle off to the other person. And then they speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And then they hand it back to the first person. They get to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. So that way, one person isn't overpowering and taking total control of the conversation. You're actually sharing and you're having a dialogue in the process of things. I hope that kind of thing helps.
Mm-hmm. No, that's Great advice. Well, I'm excited. We got to pay some bills. I'm excited to introduce to our show a new sponsor that we've picked up. It's Defenders Gateway Coffee. So let's check this out a little bit.
It's finally here, Defenders Gateway Premium Coffee. Order yours today by land, sea, or air. Every day, millions of Americans sacrifice everything to put out our fires, mend our wounds, heal our sick, and protect our loved ones. Now all Americans have been asked to heed the call, to give back to the men and women who gave their all. And remember, folks, 60% of all proceeds of Defenders Gateway Coffee go directly to our defenders and their families. Order yours today at defendersgatewaycoffee.com.
So if you want to get ground coffee or the Keurigs, they also have the Keurig coffees. You can go to defendersgateway.com and they'll show you all the different flavors they've got, as well as different ways you can order it. And one of the best things that they do when you purchase coffee from Defenders Gateway is they give back a great percentage of that to nonprofits that help with law enforcement, or nonprofits that help military organizations. And I am so thrilled and so happy to have Defenders Gateway Coffee as one of our sponsors. All right, let's get back to our topic here. Our viewers may have not heard of or gone through the DISC program. Can you tell us more about DISC and your experience with it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the DISC program is kind of an offshoot from a concept that's been around for over 2,000 years. Plato and Socrates and some of the old Greek philosophers, they had come up with this way of understanding people using, I hate to say it this way, but bodily fluids, okay? And they labeled people choleric, some people would say choleric, but choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, and melancholy. And when that's translated into what I like and what I use today it's DISC, D-I-S-C. A choleric is somebody it's a very strong-willed person. They're dogmatic, they're demanding, they're a high D personality. They're the typical leaders that you have out there. Then you have the high I, or a sanguine type of a personality type. They're the fun-loving, they love people, they're looking for the parties all the time. They're always serious about having fun. That's the easiest way to describe them. Both of those are typically extroverted personality types. Then you've got the high S personality, or the phlegmatic, and they are generally reserved, also people-oriented. They're the steady, stable ones. They're the ones that are in the back room most of the time. What can I do to help you? Ray, if there's something I can get you, can I get you a bottle of water? Can I get you a glass of tea? Can I carry your briefcase? Can I carry all of your samurai swords or whatever? I'm going to help you and support you. Then you have the high C personality, or the melancholy personality. And they too are reserved, but they're very task-oriented, much like the high D personality. Very task-oriented. They're very calculating, cautious, very careful with the things that they do. Ray, you may recall last year when I had my initial accident, I had a surgeon who was a very high C personality type. He was very careful, very cautious with everything that he did. Yeah, kind of a funny side note. When I hadn't met him before, I was in the hospital, and one of his assistants had done the initial evaluation, and he comes walking into that pre-op room, and he pulls my gown across my leg, and he pulls out a pen and he starts writing on my leg just above my left knee. And keep in mind, I was on drugs, I was on painkillers. And I said, "Who are you and what are you doing?" And he's, "Well, I'm your doctor, and I'm going to be operating on you in just a minute. And we're going to do this and this." Very methodical, very specific about the things that he was going to do. Now, if that had been a high I personality, he would have come in and he would have said, oh man, I've got a little red pen. I can draw a red picture. I can draw a green picture. I can draw a blue picture, but I'm just going to draw one like this. And we're going to have so much fun with your surgery today. You are really, the drugs that we're going to give you, you're going to have a blast today. No, I'm glad that I had that high C personality type, because like a carpenter, they measure twice and they cut once. Now, I started getting into this after I got out of college. I graduated in the late 70s with a degree in psychology, and I was fascinated by the personality temperaments. And I started incorporating all of the things that I was learning into both my personal and my business life. And I saw relationships change because I was starting to figure people out based on their personality temperament. And that's one of the ways that I incorporate the whole DISC program on a daily basis.
So as you were describing the DISC program, I was like trying to analyze, where do I fit in? Can I have pieces of all four of those categories? Is one person, like I might be 70 or 60 to 70% a high D, 5% an S, 5%.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, if you looked at my profile, and it's been this way for years, for 20 plus years, I'm about 47% C in my profile. I'm about 43% S, which they're both reserved personality types or temperaments. The C is very task-oriented. The S is very people-oriented. I have a little bit of I and a little bit of D. But I've learned over the years that if I need to morph and raise the D, then I can raise the D. I know how to do that. I'm skilled at doing that. If I need to raise the I can raise the I when it's necessary.
Well,
so, for instance, go ahead.
For both of us just being on this TV show, Taboo Talk, that kind of puts us in more of a leadership or a high D or high I category, does it not?
Yes and no. I'm very detailed. If you haven't figured out by now.
Yes,
but you as a teacher,
I have pages of notes here.
I understand that. But you as a teacher are also very detail oriented. If you're going into a classroom and let's say you've got a group of 20 to 30-year-old women and you're trying to teach them some self-defense things, it's not all about fun. This is serious business for you. So that's when you would raise your D to make sure, no, you're not doing that correctly. You got to do that again. We're going to do that again. We're going to do that again. We're going to do, and you continue to practice the repetition, but you're very methodical in those things. That's the task side of things. But when you're done with that session, you have some fun. Right. So you turn the I up in the process of all of this, but when you're in the session, it's all serious. Sure. Now, when I'm in a session with couples, I want to make sure that I always start with a little bit of levity in the process, and we always finish. My goal is always, with every couple that I'm working with, by the end of the session, I want smiles on their faces, I want hugs and kisses, and I want things to be moving in the right direction. I got some couples that they're like this when we get started, but when we're finished, they're all smiles. Then I know I've done a good job of helping them break some of these barriers down. Then it's just a matter of them implementing the things that they know they need to do, that they've just learned.
So we've talked about the DISC. I want to talk about another DISC right now. And this is something that you've been talking about a lot, and it's about our Wave X39. So can you talk about our DISC that helps people?
Disc.
It's a different DISC that actually helps heal people.
You know, Ray, it's interesting you say that, because my coaching practice is all about helping people relieve pain, whether it's emotional pain, relationship pain, business pain, whatever those pains are. I want to help them relieve and minimize those pains as much as I possibly can. Well, several months ago, a friend of mine introduced me to the Wave X39 stem cell activation disc, or patch, so to speak. It's a patch, okay? So with that, and I'm going to tell you one real quick story from me. Back in March last year, I mentioned I had the surgery. I was on painkillers for 10 days, okay? And I don't like being on drugs of any sort. I don't like taking an aspirin or an Advil or anything of that sort. Well, I had to have a repeat surgery or a fixing surgery in September. My friend Barbara got me some of these patches, and 3 days after I had the surgery, I started using the patches. And Ray, when I started using the patches, I no longer had to use the pain pills. So I was only on pain meds for 3 days. I started using the patches, and the pain was gone. I didn't have to worry about that. Then again, I had another major surgery in December. I did the exact same thing, started using the patches on day 4. Again, I only used the pain meds for 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was off of them, and I started using the X39 patch, and the pain was gone. And I was absolutely amazed. Now, here's a crazy thing. In addition to rapid pain relief with the X39, it's helping my mental clarity, my focus, a whole lot more than what it had been. I'm in my 60s, and sometimes I get a little bit of brain fog just because I'm in my 60s, okay? I've got more energy as a result of the patches. And what it's doing is it's telling my own stem cells to go back to the work. And by the time we reach the age 60, our stem cells have basically gone dormant. With this technology, it actually reactivates the stem cells and tells your stem cells to go back to work. So today, I help people with emotional pain, relationship pain, business pain, physical pain, and now also with the way inflation is going, I'm helping people with financial pain as well, because I'm helping people to start their own business using LifeWave. So Ray, I'm excited about it, and I would love to share more information with anybody that would sit down for just a half a cup of coffee. I'd love to share it with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it would be a good thing for them to do it. So both of us go to businesses and do presentations, keynote, or do coaching in the businesses. How do people with your programs benefit on a business level when they improve their communication skills?
Ray, when I'm talking to somebody about a DISC program, for instance, let's say, I'm going to use you as an example. If you've got a big event, a big training event that's coming up, if you're talking to
with a whole week of training events.
Yeah, I know. I saw you afterwards, and man, I'll tell you that you look like one whooped puppy by the time you were finished with that. But let's say you had a one-day event, okay, and you're talking to a high D personality. The way I would invite a high D to come to that event is, Rob, you need to be there. All of the leaders that I'm working with are going to be there, and you need to be able to rub elbows with those other leaders. That's for a high D. If you're talking to somebody that's a high I personality or that sanguine personality, let me tell you, this training, don't even think about training. We're going to have so much fun. You're going to be having a fun time with about 25 other people. It is going to be the time of your life. And if you want to dance on chairs, we'll even let you dance on the chairs, okay? But you're going to have some fun. If you're talking to a high S personality, same event, exact same event, it's going to be, John, I really need you there. There are times that I just need some additional help from different people, and I know I can count on you being there to support not just me, but all of the other classmates. So I really need to have you come. And then if you're talking to a high C personality, you know what, Debbie? When you come, you're going to get so much detail on all of the new techniques. You're going to learn some new techniques, some new moves, some new ways to defend yourself, some new ways to diffuse the whole aggressive situations. You do not want to miss this event because it's going to be jam-packed full of great information for you. Now, that I can use that for promoting any kind of event. It doesn't make any difference. I do the same thing when I'm talking to somebody in an onboarding situation. If somebody's just coming in to a new company situation, if I'm working with a new sales manager or an HR manager, somebody of that sort, then we're going to be talking specifically about that onboarding process. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's a high D, they don't need a lot of detail. Just tell me which way to go and I'll get it done, okay? Where are the dragons? You give me the sword, I will slay the dragon, okay? The I, you better make sure that onboarding training is fun. If it's not, you get the no-dos, okay? Or a lot of coffee or go juice or whatever. They're going to need my energy patches. So anyway, it's another story. But if you're talking to the S, you just make sure that they are sensitive to everything that's going on. In that same training, make sure that everything is spelled out in detail accurately for that C personality type. You don't want to make a mistake in front of a C, I promise, because they will correct you. Believe me, I've had that happen and I've done that. So anyway, so that's how I incorporate it, whether it's in a training mode or inviting somebody to an event. Ray, this is surface level for this stuff that I do. So I generally take 3 to 4 hours to go through all of this and all of the strengths and the weaknesses of each of the different personality types.
Sure, and those are great visuals that really kind of helped identify what each person looks for or looks like. So thanks for that. Are you able to transfer these skills into personal or family life?
One of my early mentors, his name is Dr. Robert Rome. I use his materials all the time. He's got an organization in Atlanta that I'm certified through their organization to teach and analyze all of the profiles and whatnot, even though I've been doing it for 30 years. And it's kind of interesting. He tells a story in his first book, Positive Personality Profiles. He tells the story about his oldest daughter, Rachel. She was about 13 years old. And Dr. Rome was talking to one of his coworkers one day. And Dr. Rome had a PhD in psychology, so you would think he would understand personality types. He didn't. And his coworker said, "What's the problem with your daughter?" He says, "We have a fight every night at bedtime." He says, "Well, what personality is she?" "I don't know." So they put the daughter through an assessment to find out what her temperament was. As it turns out, she was a high D, okay? So Dr. Rome and his wife, she went through the program. All three of them went through the assessment. It's bedtime one night, okay? Actually, it's about 7 o'clock. And they say, "Rachel, you can go to bed anytime you want to as long as lights are up by 9:30, okay? At 9:25, she got up. She walked into the bathroom, got herself ready for bed. At exactly 9:30, the light went out. And they looked at Dr. Rome and his wife looked at each other and said, "What just happened?" And they realized she needed a boundary. She needed to be in control as a D needs to be in control, but she needed a boundary. So as long as she believed that she was in control of the situation, then she was happy. There was no fight, and they never had a fight about bedtime after that. They just learned how to incorporate that into their family life. The same thing is true with husband and wife. If I need to do something with my wife, she has a very high I personality type. I have to take that into consideration. My wife has the ability of carrying on 5 conversations in one sentence. Now, she is very skilled at that. And sometimes I have to tell her, stop, time out for a second. I need to actually understand what you're talking about. with 1/5 of that sentence. So I have to learn how to relate to her better, and she has to learn to relate better to me as we go through this crazy thing called marriage and called life. So the same thing is true with our children. Her son, my stepson, amazing young man. He has a very high S personality type, very supportive. He's also got a lot of C in him. And so I have to treat him differently than I would treat somebody else in the whole process of communication. So it is critical when we understand the personality types and temperaments of our children, as well as our spouses and other family members, business relationships. So it's definitely something that goes across the business and family lines all the time.
Sure. So if you're a commercial or corporate salesperson, those skills can help you identify how to better approach somebody on how to sell them a car or how to sell them
No, absolutely.
TV or,
Totally.
anything.
Well, right. Let's stop and think. Like you mentioned car. I mean, okay, so you walk onto a car lot and you have a high C personality type that is trying to sell you this new car. And what do? They start reading off all the detail, all the specs about the car. You don't care. You want something blue. I don't care if it's 4-wheel drive or a 357 or if it's a Hemi or if it's a Hurry or what they just want. I want something blue.
Right.
So, or the exact opposite is true also. If you've got that person and all they want to do is make sure you're having fun, then okay, well, let me make sure that but you gotta give the details as well. Let me give you one real quick case. Many years ago, I was selling printing equipment, very expensive printing equipment, and I was implementing this whole mindset with a prospective client. I'll be real fast with this. And I walked into the guy's office. We'd had multiple conversations on the phone. Walked into his office. He says, "Steve, I don't have a lot of time. Just give me the bottom line." I said, "Okay, you just want the bottom line." Guy's a very high D personality type. Okay, so you don't care about the details. He says, "I just want the bottom line." I said, "Okay, $34,758.16. I need your authorization on the bottom of this copy. Please press hard because the bottom copy is yours." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You told me you wanted the bottom line. It's $34,000. You need to authorize right here. We'll get it produced and get it shipped out to you right away." He said, "Okay, you got me. I understand. Maybe I need a little bit of detail." Okay.
Right.
I was treating him the way he wanted to be treated, as a high D personality type. Now, if I had gone in there and disrespected him, I wouldn't have got the sale. And that's the key. We've got to respect people for where they are and the amount of information that they need. Do they need fun? Do they need detail? Do they need bottom line? Do they just need support?
Right.
That's the key.
Oh, that is awesome. So, to our taboo talkers out there, if you have questions or comments, you can go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page and share our episodes with your friends. If you have a business and would like to be one of our sponsors, you can contact us at Taboo Talk with Ray and Steve at gmail.com. And we are always looking for new sponsors that we really want to support you and get your message out to our viewers. We'll contact you as soon as you send us an email. Don't forget to, with our YouTube page, like, share, comment, and of course, subscribe so that people can stay engaged with our fellow taboo talkers. You want to add anything to that? We just have a couple minutes before we kind of sign this episode out.
Share. Like, comment, subscribe, share our information. And yes, definitely engage with us. We want to hear your comments and we want to have a conversation with you. If some of the things that we're talking about strikes a chord, we'd love to have a deeper conversation with you. Ray, I know you're looking for opportunities to do more safety seminars and train more young people. I'm looking for opportunities in the corporate world to be able to share. I do a lot of corporate type things where I'm teaching some of these fundamental communication things. So take this information and share it with your friends, with your coworkers. We'd love to be able to help them. And
we want to meet our viewers in person. We don't want to
absolutely.
just see you or talk to you guys through the TV. We want to set up seminars or lectures or book signings that you guys can actually come out, get an autographed book, and actually meet and greet with us and get to know us on a more personal level. We're going to try to come up with some Taboo Talk merchandise. I'm a Taboo Talker t-shirt or anything like that. So stay
Ray,
tuned
speaking of merchandise, I hate to interrupt you, but what's the stuff you've got on the wall there behind you?
So, we're talking about communication where Darth Vader is like, Luke, I am your father. And, the Mandalorian is trying to talk to, baby Grogu, and Grogu is mama, dada type thing. And you see on the helmet for the fighter pilots, they have to communicate to each other so that they don't run into each other in outer space or anything. Everything is about communication. And in order for us to move forward in life and succeed in life, it's not just being a good communicator, but a good listener as well.
So Ray, real cool question for you. What's the head count? How many viewers are we getting now?
We're, my understanding, on a weekly basis, we're hitting about 25,000.
25,000. So if you want to be an advertiser or sponsor, if you want to be a sponsor and reach 25,000 people, here's the place to be.
We'll see you next week on Taboo Talk with Ray and Steve.